Hi, Michael. How's it going?
Hi, Raffy. Have we met before? I feel like we have.
We talked last year during season one, so it's good
Oh,
to
hell
see
yeah. Hi. So nice to see you again.
you. Still virtually, but maybe one day we can meet in person.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So it's nice to talk to you. And like I said, I got to screen season two, and it was really cute. So congrats again. I'm sure fans will appreciate your comeback. So
Thank you. I appreciate it, really.
we only have limited time left, so let me just get started. So obviously season two, you're coming back. It was written for Hulu, and what I love most about this season is like it gets to show Victor's messy, horny side, which I really appreciate because it adds for a more like authentic, realistic look at queer teens' lives. So, what was it like playing at that aspect, and did you enjoy that those those parts of the season?
Honestly, yeah, I did. I totally enjoyed it. Like, George is such a pleasure to work with. And we
Mhm.
actually opted out of using like an intimacy coach because, like, we just felt comfortable enough to just kind of like do it on our own. And it felt, I hope it reads. I didn't get to see those episodes, but I hope it reads that it's like kind of authentic and like really explorative. And I feel like that is definitely kind of like the direction that George and I were trying to head in with it. But it's still like so exciting for both of us. And yeah, like it was really cool. And I think it's cool to just kind of depict the LGBT community in an accurate way, especially in a way where
Mhm.
it's like teenagers can watch this and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is normal to feel this way.
Well, it was wild and chaotic to watch. I was like screaming. So it was so like funny, but like cringy and like in a good way. It's like, oh my gosh, I remember those days. So
Yeah,
that was
exactly. Like it's like, it's like exactly because it's like, oh
yeah,
God. Like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Another one of my favorite aspects of the season was the discussions Victor and his new friend Raheem had about being from brown immigrant families, which is like queer. Like I related that so hard, and that's like not something I see often in TV at all. So was it like playing that aspect and also building that dynamic with Anthony Cavon because the newbie on the block for the season?
First off, Anthony came on is great. He was literally here yesterday. We hung out and had dinner together. He's
Oh,
amazing. Yeah, we get along super well. But um, like I think it's cool to kind of like tackle the issue because obviously, yes, Latino is one group of people of color, but there's so many more people of color. There's Black, Brown, Asian, and there's so many more issues than just the ones that the Latino community is facing. So I think it's really cool to kind of be exploring like a new perspective. I think
mhm.
that is something that I really love about the show is that it yes, it's only one LGBT story, and I think that like throughout the whole process of this show, I think in it being such a success as it was, it shows a lot of big networks and in a big like executive producers and all that stuff that like there's a market for LGBT stories and more people want their LGBT like want stories for the LGBT community. And I think that's probably the most exciting part about it.
And speaking of LGBT stories, I feel like a lot of LGBT stories recently have been like super sweet and super saccharine, and there's like a time and place for that. Like you need to show positive stories. But what I liked about this season with Victor, especially his mom, it shows like a more realistic way of like how brown moms especially like react to their kids coming out and how it's a process. So what was that like, especially working against NRTs and like crafting like a realistic mom son queer son dynamic?
Well, I freaking love Anna. First off, like she's so amazing and incredible to work with. Like she's just a phenomenal actress and such a freaking powerhouse. But besides that, she's like we kind of really like worked really hard on like making this feel accurate as possible. I think that when people watch this, I want like parents to understand. Okay, like I might not have been the most understanding. I might not have been the most accepting, but it is a process and I understand that. And I want teenagers that do watch the show to understand that it is a process as well. I think that a lot of parents, what they do, like a lot of, especially brown people, a lot of brown parents struggle because like, I love my kids, but I also love my religion. And I think
Mhm.
that it kind of talks about like what it's like to kind of go through that process and like understanding that they need to accept their children regardless of their religion.
And the discussion, I feel like, especially with Raheem, when he was talking about being from an immigrant family, but he still like loves his immigrant parents no matter what. I was like, bring a tear to my eye. I was like, oh my god, haven't seen
It's
this
a
on
different
TV before.
perspective. It's a completely
Yeah.
different perspective. Like our parents gave up everything to bring us to where we are. it wasn't given to them. And so it's like, in that same token, it's like I want my parents to accept me, but in the same token, like I just love my parents already so much because they gave up everything to make sure I had the life that I had. And so I think that is such a really important distinction that is made throughout this season. And I think that, it just, again, like it's that duality there. And I think that, again, that it definitely depicts that part where it takes time to accept sometimes it takes time for your parents to accept who you are, but it doesn't mean that they won't get there eventually. And I think that this show is like, okay, let's give our parents some time. Let's help them through this journey, and let's give them the most understanding that we possibly can. Obviously, they're not the nicest and most kind all the time, but I think that this show does offer that perspective that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
And you knocked it out of the park. And just to wrap things up, I know Victor's still learning more about himself, but he's from episode 1 to now, he's like really come like a full arc. It's a full journey. He's really progressing. Do you have any hopes for the future of Victor, especially since the season ended the way it did? It was wild. So not to give away too much.
I definitely do. I definitely would love to explore more of like Victor kind of experimenting what his sexuality means to him, and maybe experimenting, like with different things, and kind of just like kind of discovering who he is even further, and exploring even further into like what it means to be part of the LGBT community now that his parents understand him more, his friends understand him more, and now he's obviously in this like crazy love triangle. What that means, so I would love to just discover and play around with more of that aspect for sure.
I want to see it too, and I want to see who's at the end of the door. But, well, that's all the time I have left, Michael. But thank you so much again. It's been an honor, and it's fun to reconnect and talk again. So
thank you so much, Raffy. You're such a sweetheart. Really, I hope we get to like meet some more for sure.
Hopefully, the world's opening back up so soon.
Thank you, Raffy.
All right, thanks, Raffy. You have a good one, all right, man?
You too. Bye.
Hi, bye.
Hi, George. How's it going?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I got to screen the second season recently, so it was really cute. So it's cool to talk to you. So thank you again for taking the time out.
Of course. Yeah.
My first question is, so obviously Victor and Benji have their ups and downs, but at the end of the day, they have a lot of fun, cute moments. I was wondering, what do you admire most about Benji, and what do you hope to see come from him and Victor's relationship in the future going forward?
Yeah. Well, they do definitely have quite the journey this time around this season, and it was amazing to be able to tell it in a more realistic light too. Now that we're on Hulu, we can tell more kind of adult stories too, so we get to explore their kind of sexual relationship and things like that. But they also, like you said, they do have a lot of ups and downs this season. Like every relationship, it has its sort of testing times, and like a lot of people's kind of first love, it's a very passionate bond too. So I don't know. I mean, the writers I've always like been so like enthralled with the scripts every time I read them. So I don't know what they have up their sleeve, but I just hope we get to continue seeing their individual journeys and their sort of collective journey too, whatever is in store.
Love that. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And Benji obviously has a lot more experience with Victor when it comes to like being out and proud, especially in that public setting.
Yeah.
What I liked about season 2 is that Victor does point out one of his blind spots, which is his privilege, especially when it comes to his like white liberal upbringing.
Yeah.
Can you talk about getting to see that on screen? Because I feel like that's we don't talk about that enough. So was that like
it hasn't come up in conversation as much as it really, but I think it's good that it does, because it is an element of sort of today's world, so it's good that it's being addressed. And I think from Benji's perspective, he does need to learn to be more open-minded to Victor's background and what he's going through, and not be so sort of have his own white privilege blinders on.
And obviously you and Michael still have that amazing chemistry. What was it like getting to be back, and how excited were you? Because we've had all a rough year, but it was like getting to be back with everyone, especially crafting that dynamic with Michael again.
It was amazing. Like it was a rough year, and being able to get back to doing what you love and was just amazing. And I think that energy was across the board, because we saw a lot of the familiar faces with the same crew and stuff. Plus we're all, you know, it was like right in pandemic when like we were wearing masks and shields and getting tested 3 times a week. So we weren't hanging out with anyone else. So we just were really forming quite close bonds. And I think that really probably helped the story in some ways, because these characters are also becoming a lot closer to each other. So it definitely painted the experience, but I think it had a lot of silver linings. Yeah.
And this season ends on a wild note. I won't give away anything at all, but too much. But what do you hope Benji like learns, or how do you hope he grows going forward?
I feel like, I mean, ultimately I want him to be happy, and if that means a relationship, then that, you know, that's great. But I want him to be happy, and I want him to get to fulfill his dreams and keep following his heart, and keep growing and becoming better, like hopefully like we all do as well.
And obviously allyship is like one of the biggest themes of the show, especially the way like high school age straight people treat their like LGBTQ queers classmates, and how like the little things they say can like affect them.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything new? Like, this is your second season, this is your second time around. Did you learn anything new about allyship, or like what it means to be there for the LGBTQ community being on the show?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, I think with the fact that we have like LGBTQ writers bringing their own stories and this sort of level of authenticity to the scripts, I think the way it's presented is very honest, and there's a lot to learn, and I think it's all about being open-minded and listening, and just being part of this, being part of like the solution to some of these things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you touched a little bit about this earlier, but now that season 2 is like written for Hulu, you get to experience like the messiness, the horniness, and it's like all like wild ride.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like that aspect of the show and getting like I mentioned, to be horny teenagers together? So what was that like?
I did. No, I genuinely did, because it's a real part of growing up, you know. It's such a huge part of growing up. It kind of like, when you're a teenager, it almost is like the center of your kind of thoughts and everything, you know. So yeah, we should include it in the story. That was my thought on it, and I just wanted to be able to honor that. I was really pleased that they were like going in that direction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I say more messiness, more horniness, please.
I agree.
And I guess just to wrap things up, obviously Victor and Benji's relationship is realistic and it's like authentic. Did you feel any like pressure in that kind of way to like when portraying them, especially since it's still not often we see two young queer people in a relationship on TV, so like they're on this pedestal? Did you feel any pressure that in that sense or anything like that?
I didn't at the time. I didn't really feel the pressure. No, I didn't. I really just was approaching the work as like, okay, I want to, this is a great script, and I really want to be able to honor it and be able to play this character to the best level I can. So yeah, it wasn't so much pressure. If anything, the pressure probably was coming like from my own pressure of wanting to just like be able to play this character and do a good job with that. So I try not to think about the outside pressure too much, at least, you know, because I don't want it to affect what I'm doing in the moment. Mm-hmm. It's all about what's happening in the moment and this connection I'm having with Michael and how just being there in the moment. And then I think you get the best. That's how you get the best result, you know?
Well, I think you did a great job. You and Michael knocked it out of the park again. So I can't wait for fans to see it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's all the questions I have left, but thank you again, George. Congrats. I can't wait for fans to see it. I know, like I've been reading like online, they miss you guys. So they'll be really
I know. I'm excited for everyone to see it. I'm really excited.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, and you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.